that was being tested had a terrible illness. Facial tic. To stop playing Jim Carrey, I hope I could die. A man named Jim Carrey, legendary flicks like Ace Ventura and The Mask can make the globe chuckle. In actuality, he frequently silently every performance ended in darkness. On-screen smiles hide a despondent soul. When Jim left home, his father left that was young. His mother struggled financially. His childhood taught him to prepare for adversity. Fame and public expectations drained Hollywood stars. Jim nearly quit and considered suicide. Life. Jim Carrey exudes enthusiasm, yet hides pain and loneliness that smash over him like waves, erasing delight. He survived lengthy, dark days on antidepressants due to severe depression, broken relationships, unexpected deaths, and the pressure to appear funny in front of millions' deep-cutting eyes. The worst happened with the deaths of brother John, 2021, and sister Rita, 2024. The ultimate blows that led him to painting and meditation to escape the darkness. Jim laughed to cheer others. He cried alone, sinking in a sea of stillness that few understood agony. Jim Carrey's stunning smile, real or fake, a facade for a bleeding heart. All the solutions are in this story. Jim Carrey is a man behind the amazing image he creates on screen, where he makes millions laugh battling depression and childhood trauma. Outside, brilliant lights and roaring laughter hide his severe depression, pushing him into an invisible pit no one can see. He was famous for his memorable comedies throughout his professional height. Carrey felt a huge vacuum in his soul after playing famous roles. Jim treated severe depression with Prozac fluoxetine throughout the 1990s and 2000s. He initially revealed this on 60 Minutes in 2004. I used long-term Prozac use. The temporary aid caused a low-grade despair. No great highs, but everything was fine. In those days, he felt his body talking. I'm done being this character, he said. Despair was tiredness from living as a fake in an interview. Socially imposed character. I was Jim Carrey when I tried depressed. I'm done trying. Carrey was depressed for decades before he confronted himself through meditation and stillness. He started painting using colors to express feelings words cannot. Each brushstroke rips, drawing a sigh to release years of pain. To grasp Jim Carrey's tragedy, despair, we must examine his traumatic childhood. A heart shattered by unhealed wounds. Born 1962, Newmarket, Jim Carrey grew up in great poverty in Ontario, Canada. His dad, the family struggled with musician and accountant Percy Carey's uncertain career. His mother, Kathleen, was immobile and depressed owing to chronic pain and pill addiction nonchalantly discussing death. Her outward presence but emotional absence made Jim felt abandoned. Though she was always home, addiction felt like abandonment, he said. Jim was afraid of death since childhood. His mother calmly discussed death, which frightened him. That made him fear she would depart at any time. He remembered shutting himself in, weeping on the toilet, fearing death. Unfortunately, her condition prevented her from totally care for the family, and Jim grew up with John, Patricia, and Rita. He felt the precariousness and loneliness of family life early on. At 10, Jim wrote writing Carol Burnett as a skilled impersonator requesting a position. A template reply arrived, but he loved it, the first hope in his family's despair. Sadness characterized later childhood. Everything became worse when Jim was 12. His father lost his job and the family suffered. After living in a Volkswagen van, they pitched a tent in Charles Daly Park on Lake Ontario. We lived in the van 8 months. I saw other individuals going to work every morning, but we didn't know where that would go. Jim remembered his sad voice. This time taught him both helplessness, fury, and resilience. To support his family, Jim worked at 15, cleaning Titan wheels from night to morning. Though exhausted, he kept his dream of performing. Long factory nights proved his worth. Dedication to his dream despite hurdles. On top, Jim had undiagnosed dyslexia and financial problems, making school difficult. The quiet, lonely child felt different from his peers. His years of homelessness made him fearful. Worry about losing everything, dread of being forgotten. The family continuously moved for cheaper housing. His worldview shrank with each step. Their most known residence was an old Volkswagen van parked at various campsites in Canada. Brothers Jim and John lived in a tent in Lincoln, Ontario's Charles Daly Alley Park for months. Long nights induced Jim's withdrawal, The family-joking boy now spoke to no one. But Father Percy, despite losing his artistic goals, never gave up on his son. That he looked Jim in the eyes and said, "Son, try out on stage. That IT could be your gift." That counsel altered Jim Carrey's life. That he first performed with a microphone at Toronto's Yak Yaks Comedy Club at 15, mimicking great stars, confident as if born to perform. Beer whistles and scornful laughter were the audience's response. That his first failure and shock broke him. Instead of quitting, Jim chose different route. Quiet practice. He spent years perfecting his expressions, turning his face and voice into performance tools. Daytime, he worked in the factory. He rehearsed in a mirror at night. He got a 20-minute first gig for his efforts, only $20 Canadian. That brief instant revived a memory. Dream. Toronto comedy started featuring Jim Carrey more. The youngster booed off stage became a performer who garnered praise. Fate intervened quickly. Famous comedian Rodney Dangerfield saw his show and was impressed. That he invited Jim to open nationwide. A few years previously, Jim slept kicked off stages in a van. He would now share the stage. Comic legends. Jim bravely left Canada with a few clothing and a one-way ticket. Hollywood, where dreams are made and broken. He didn't know that this city would turn him from a nobody into a comedic legend. Where fame, loneliness, and forgotten pain would consume him. From this point on, Jim Carrey made the world laugh, but not himself. The Hollywood place where dreams flourish or fade. Jim Carrey arrived with a worn suitcase and a few scripts and the absurd goal of performing on Johnny Carson's The Tonight Show. Carson was the ultimate gatekeeper. If you amused him, your career soared. If not, it ended. Canadian young man Jim was about to chase that dream. He had a fantastic opportunity to test out for Tonight in 1983. Los Angeles Improv Club show. Jim entered stage lights, accentuating his face, which had made hundreds laugh in Toronto. That he acted energetically, contorting his face, changing his voice, and putting his soul into every move. Cold audience watched in silence, then began conversing. The call came the next day. "Sorry, Jim Carrey, you weren't chosen." He lost his first dream. Jim kept going. He led the sitcom The Duck Factory, plays a modest, blank-faced cartoonist in chaos. Ironically, stone-facedness was a double-edged blade. Casting directors constantly rejected him. His expectations are crazy. Jim was overacting and unmarketable. Rejected from dozens of roles for being unusual. Then a bizarre chance came. The Deadpool, the Clint Eastwood film Dirty Harry's final installment, needs a modest role for a drug-addicted rock singer. Initial death. Jim went crazy after submitting a test tape. He danced, smashed props, shouted, and spat at the camera. After sending, he sighed. "All done. My career ends." But the impossible occurred. Clint Eastwood laughed and said, "I like him. Bring him in." On set, merely patted Jim's back and murmured, "Good job, kid." Jim played Johnny Squares for minutes, but they were crucial. The audience scarcely recalled his face, but Jim knew Hollywood had begun. Success was still far off. Every night after work, he drove up. He whispered on Mulholland Drive, watching Los Angeles's brilliant lights. "All these lights will spell my name one day." Around 1990, Jim put faith into action. He signed Jim Carrey for $10 million to act. Rendered, folded, and carried it in his wallet daily as a promise. Imagine a nearly bankrupt man daring to write $10 million check. Not just a dream. It was, the cosmos seemed to heed to my "I will do it." After being welcomed to In Living Color, Jim unleashed weird, unpredictable personas. America went crazy about Fire Marshal Bill and other strange characters. This was Jim's Hollywood breakthrough, when everyone noticed him. On him. Legends ruled Hollywood humor in the 1990s. Eddie Murphy, Bill Murray, Robin Williams, Jim Carrey. TV comedians recognized for bizarre, In Living Color drawings. No one expected this elastic-faced man to revolutionize Hollywood sometime. The oddball Ace Ventura script followed. A pet detective specializes in stolen pets. The Jim Carrey story began with a foolish concept. Legend. Ace Ventura producers doubted the project would succeed. The box office. The director was captivated with Jim's In Living style, color. Strange, irrational, intriguing. Jim accepted and asked, "If I play this role, every character must be made my way." Thus, Ace's odd experiment Ventura began. Jim cartoonishly exaggerated the character's walk, bird-like flaps. Every line was exaggerated. Suddenly, the nonsensical term "a lady" became ubiquitous catchphrase. The film premiered in February 1994. Audiences laughed heartily despite reviewers calling it foolish, ridiculous, and infantile. And in laughter, a star was born. Despite his laughter, Jim Carrey carried an ongoing ache. His mother Kathleen died in 1991, causing another tragedy. As he approached fame, Jim started tasting 3 years later. His father Percy, who encouraged him, died. "Dad, I made it, but you're not here to see it," Jim whispered at his father's grave, heartbroken. The success of Dumb and Dumber couldn't compensate. He took Prozac for trouble, depression, but family loss seemed a curse. After these struggles, Jim Carrey's job was his sole solace. His long run of success began there. In 1995, Carrey featured in Batman and Nature Calls 2 with Ace Ventura, forever as the Riddler, earning $336 million. Shows his adaptability worldwide. He appeared in the dark comedy The Cable Guy with Ben Stiller that year. Jim's unique style was memorable despite its provocative tone. This was a tipping point. Carrey went beyond comedy. He took on unique and colorful roles. Carrey played more serious roles from 1996 until 1998. He blended comedy and emotion in Liar, creating a compelling film. Humorous and touching performance. Carrey as Truman in The Truman Show was the peak of this phase. Burbank unknowingly living in a lie. Role earned very acclaimed and showed Carrey could handle psychologically challenging roles. By 1999, Carrey continued to fascinate audiences and critics with Man on the Moon. He played Andy Kaufman well, considered a quirky but committed comedian. The film won Carrey a coveted Golden Globe, validating his transforming talent as an actor. Abilities. Carrey's legacy continued in the 2000s. He played the Grinch in How the Grinch Stole Christmas in 2000, requiring acting and physical endurance owing to complexity. Massive box office success for the film, $345 million globally, making Carrey a movie staple, all ages. I, myself, and Irene showed Cars 2 endedness that year, playing opposite parts, providing humor and emotion. Carrey explored many roles from 2001 to 2003, trying a post-World War II American psychological role in The Majestic. Although the film didn't, he was lauded for his financial success. In 2003, Bruce Almighty, starring Carrey as a man with God's abilities, was a great blend of humor and humanistic message, earning $484 million worldwide. Carrey's peak career was 2004's Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Playing Joel Barish, who struggles to remember lost love, disclosed Jim Carrey is unique, insightful, and emotional. One of his best performances. Career. The Golden Globe for this role recognized his talent and confirmed Carrey's ability to switch from comedy to drama. While succeeding professionally, Jim's personal traumas remained. New tragedy struck in 2005 when his nephew Marty Fournier, 25, perished in a terrible vehicle crash. Marty Rita's kid was going to Dundas, Ontario, to visit his mother. Whilst practicing music, a truck's cargo floor toppled on his automobile, killing him. Accident occurred. Marty and his girlfriend were on their way to practice a new song called Mini Tragedies. Marty, an attractive, dedicated, and loving young man, lead singer in transit with his mother. He was getting married. Growing his music career. His unexpected death shocked the family, especially to sister Rita, who lost her only son. Jim Carrey was devastated due to loss. He typically painted somber compositions softly, according to friends, to ease his discomfort. Friends said, "Family is everything. Losing them is like losing part of yourself." Spirit. These paintings formed Jim's worldview, expressing both rage and grief. The more Jim suffered, the louder his career succeeded. He continues to establish himself in film with various and tough roles. In 2005, he played Dick Harper, a jobless criminal, in Fun with Dick and Jane that year. To survive. This role showed Carr's exploration and brought humor in social issues. By 2007, Carrey made psychological flicks portraying Walter Sparrow, a 23 obsessed man. Carrey moved beyond humorous parts and into more serious roles with this change. Horton, Here's a Who, 2008, a charming animated film, was voiced by Carrey, showed her sensitivity and charm in a significant role. Also in 2008, Korea's Carl Allen in Yes Man. a man who rejects everything until he masters saying life yes. The part was hilarious and inspiring, solidifying Carr's image as a dynamic entertainer. He dazzled an eye in 2009. Love You. Philip Morris as Stephen J. Russell, a man willing to lie for love. That same year, Carrey voiced Ebenezer Scrooge in A Christmas Carol, showing his versatility in modern animation and live action. Entering 2010, Carrey maintained to keep up with comic roles while entering television. In With Jeff Daniels in Dumb and Dumber, 2014, he continued the loyal admirers love Lloyd and Harry's hilarious narrative. The most crucial phase was creating a children's show where Carrey played Jeff Pickles, hosting a personal crisis. This job let him show deep, subtle acting that blends comedy and pathos. Carrey returned to film as Dr. Robotnik in 2020 at the Hedgehog Sonic. This position remained in Sonic 2 2022 and Sonic 3.2024, establishing a distinctive, engaging enemy. Plans to win the Honorary Caesar Award in 2026 recognized Carr's career internationally. Paris, France, honoring his immense cinematic accomplishments. Despite career success, Jim's marriages and private life suffered. Starting early in his career, Carrey had various high-profile partnerships failed. First was Melissa Weimer, whom Carrey married young in 1987. Their love rapidly became marriage, and Carr's only daughter, Jane Eyre, was born that year. Despite initial passion, personality and life goals clashed. Melissa said Jim was no longer the husband she loved, and they lacked empathy to survive that marriage. The 1995 divorce was the first turning point that Carrey's romances. Just a year later, Carrey married Lauren Holly, his appear in Dumb and Dumber. The wedding was short, but media attention was stressful. Lauren said they had to race the press to retain privacy. This marriage ended in less than a year, proving Jim still hadn't discovered love. After 2 divorces, Carrey dated multiple unmarried women. Engaged to Renee Zellweger in 1999, appear in Me, Myself, and Irene. However, the romance terminated after 1 year. Jenny McCarthy was his girlfriend from 2005 till 2010, but they also did not marry. Carrey suffered a devastating experience in 2015. Private life. His ex-girlfriend, Irish cosmetics artist Catheriona White, was discovered dead at her Sherman home, Los Angeles Oaks. She died of an overdose and suicide. There since 2012, their relationship had been up and down and complicated. Emotions. Catheriona wrote Jim before dying. "You helped me." But Jim read the letter, unable to disguise his emotions of sorrow. "It was unbelievable. I loved and wanted to make her happy. She wrote I ruined her. It burdened me." Immediately, Catheriona's relatives sued Jim Carrey for drug distribution after her death. STDs, drugs, prostitutes, and emotional abuse. Jim recoiled at my claims of loving her. "I never intended to hurt. They want to profit on my pain. I'll prevent that." Despite significant accusations, Jim showed respect for the deceased. At Cathiona's funeral at Capawhite, Ireland, he was a goodbye to pallbearer. "She was a true Irish flower, sensitive for this planet," Jim said. "I wish I could have saved her." Catherinia's suicide message apologized and stated her funeral and property intentions. So she asked Jim to trust him to make important judgments as the only one who could adequately care for her final rites. Jim was moved by the letter. "Despite my heartbreak, I had to accept her family-like belief." Jim was acquitted after lengthy trials, but the emotional pain endured. Jim stated, "This was the roughest time in my life. Every accusation hurt me because I lost someone I loved. I wanted her to rest in peace and remember us fondly." The lawsuit shook Jim into profound depression. He retired from isolation in his Los Angeles house and painted passionate political art. "I'm not Jim Carrey anymore. Who I am," he remarked in a rare 2017 interview. Lost voice, deep relaxation, or depression surrounded him. He discontinued Prozac/Tornado painting and meditation for salvation. But childhood trauma, abandonment fear, nightly fears of losing loved ones returned. In 2019, Carrey and Ginger Gonzaga co-starred in Kidding. The Golden Globes revealed the romance, which ended soon after a year. Carrey's brief romances reveal she's still looking struggle to retain connection. Despite various relationships, despite failed marriages, Carrey remains close to his daughter, Jane Aaron. Jane, married with 2 children, nevertheless receives fatherly love. She became a grandfather at a relatively early age and yet spends time with his daughter and grandchildren, believing family as important is essential to life. Carrey revealed his 2 divorces. Opinions on marriage. He has no desire to remarry and no longer believes in fairy tale romance. He said love is a mindset, and the most essential thing is to love oneself. Jim chose singlehood to discover pleasure and calm in independence. Unfortunately, his brother John died aged 60 from a plastic surgery in 2021, but his childhood illness was anemia. Jim didn't say anything, but he was in a storm, according to pals. Who else, John? Now it's just Patricia and myself, he murmured, glancing at an old family photo of them crammed in the van. Homelessness. He withdrew and appeared rarely after this lost. Projects, fearing the world would take it again. The worst happened in 2024 when his poor sister Rita died suddenly. A cause was not stated, but friends stated Jim was heartbroken. Once tight in their tent-dwelling days, the Carrey family now had just sister, Patricia. I laughed to shield my agony. However, now he told a close buddy he was exhausted. Dark, reflective paintings were his style throughout this time. Deeply damaged soul. By 2025, Jim returned. Sonic 3 broke box office records with his most successful flick. He returned to the TV with a crooked smile. Behind it was a guy fighting darkness. As of 2025, Jim Carrey, 63, lives peacefully focusing on mental health, art, and family. He quits Hollywood, antidepressants, coffee, avoid alcohol and drugs by practicing transcendental meditation and living a healthy lifestyle. Jim believes in the law and frequent exercise to balance the mind. And the belief that happy thoughts attract wonderful things. He lives in a big Brentwood property he bought in 1994 in Los Angeles. The resort has private yoga, meditation, and creative areas. Also a pool and tennis court. Recently, he advertised the residence for sale with an adjusted price, but keeps it as a quiet living and creating space. Jim lives alone. Devotes time to himself and his close relationship with daughter Jane, not dating, grandchildren, and Aaron Carrey. Jim discovered painting, poetry, and NFT after leaving Hollywood. Creation. These artistic pursuits let him express himself and helped recover from personal setbacks. He disclosed meditating and art help him find peace that stardom could never supply. Jim Carrey's 2025 net worth is estimated at $180 million, decreased from $300 million owing to financial issues, decisions, and lifestyle choices. He spent much of his money on real estate, art, and personal pursuits, staying private for mental health. His 2-acre property is famous. The 10,000-square-foot Brentwood mansion has 5 bedrooms, 9 bathrooms, and a tennis court, waterfall pool, Art Deco theater, yoga meditation area. He has a $13.65 million 7,000-square-foot Manhattan penthouse. Million. Jim Carrey loves painting and creating. Digital art. He published Germinations, an NFT collection, as String, being with 5 autobiographical cartoon artworks and narration by him. His super rare sale included Sunshower, a digital artwork, using creativity and social responsibility to donate to Feeding America. Carrey reportedly earned $20 million per picture, or $34 million today, as an actor. Jim Carrey's life goes beyond comedy and big business hits the voyage of sorrow and hardship. Heartbreak from failed marriages, romance with Catriona White, to fame and emotional losses. Carrey has suffered behind the scenes. Stories like these make one wonder, is the comedic actor happy in real life? Have you liked Jim Carrey's films? Which of his roles stood out? Comment with your thoughts. If you like this video and want to learn more about celebs, subscribe and enable notifications to avoid missing the next exciting episode.